Officially, welcome to the holidays. If you didn't get enough passive aggression from your coworkers, or even better, that one batshit crazy neighbor down the street, I hope you get it from your parents now. Or you're gonna get it from your parents anyways this holiday.
Now, we all know Carrie's my favorite, then Kev, then David, then Mike. But the rankings can always change. Everyone can work their way up or down.
I swear, something about the festive air makes parents go batshit crazy and come for our necks all the damn time. Like, what did I do wrong this time? That's why I'm hiding in the basement right now. But I hope you don't do your parents like what Rick Reiner just did recently in the news. This shit is actually crazy.
You don't seem very fiery to me. You seem like you might just...
I get crazy.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
You don't want to set me off.
So in the case that you're not chronically online like some people,
Good morning, buddy. I'm kind of scared.
Rick Ryder just brutally killed his Hollywood parents. Okay, what's new? So rich people just died. Okay, another day in the books, I guess. But this one might be different. So your uncle or anyone above 40 who's quote-unquote unk status has probably heard of his dad, Rob. And Rob was a famous director in Hollywood for many years, even though Nick didn't really follow in his footsteps. Well, for one thing, Rob actually directed The Princess Bride back in the 1900s. Yeah, I know, is that unk status? But he also has a bunch of interviews that may look into why his son Nick actually did such a thing. All these interviews shine a light on some of the batshit crazy abuse that he gave his son Nick. And it's all online for us to see.
I just want to say I've been having just a great time. Everybody's been really, really funny. I just don't want people to get the wrong idea that this is not really, Rob's favorite style of humor. Well, the success of the Dick Van Dyke Show changed things dramatically. Carl started inviting many of his famous friends to son. And that list includes some of the greats in comedy. Paul Lynde, Dom DeLuise, Rip Taylor, Danny Kaye, Charles Nelson Riley, and Rock Hudson, whom I frankly don't think was that funny. Rob, I love you like a brother.
Wait a minute. Don't love me like a brother.
No, and all kidding aside, it's been a great evening, and thank you for doing so much to make sure that no other kid ends up like you.
Well.
Here on YouTube, we have some mediocre drama, your typical Neff humor cheating on his wife, but not to the level of this. This is some Hollywood level ass shit. Oh, and I forgot to say, I'm Bracing for Jason, here to help you embrace the light side and wild side of your internet feed.
I guess it could have been pretty awkward when PETA approached you about joining their team.
I'm gonna go.
And let's get started. There's some crazy Hollywood shit going down. And it might refer to something we also saw with D4VD, another famous person that might be put on murder for a different reason, but all has to do with an alter ego.
Some people are born with every safety net imaginable, and sadly still fall through. Unfortunately, Nick Reiner is the poster boy for such an existence. By the time Nick Reiner was born in 1993, his parents were already among the Hollywood elites. Nick was the middle child, but by his own admission grew up feeling like the bond between himself and his father was much weaker than the bonds between his father and his siblings. Despite being brought up in a luxurious childhood that many of us only dreamt of, Nick Reiner first got sent to drug rehab at just the age of 15. Between then and the age of 19, while most kids his age were navigating through high school, Nick would be in and out of rehab an additional 17 or 18 times. In later interviews, Nick said that his parents chose to exercise tough love when Nick was at the peak of his addiction. He said, quote, "To them it was their way of saving my life," end quote. However, during this time of tough love, despite beyond wealthy parents, Nick spent many nights on the street. In his early 20s, he and his father Rob attempted to start over. Nick had gotten clean, allegedly, and the two decided to make a film together. The semi-autobiographical was released in 2015 and was made to depict the difficult relationship between an addict and his family. In the coming years, Rob and Nick both talked candidly about how making the film grew their relationship and gave both of them a better understanding of the other's perspectives. The film was supposed to launch Nick into the start of his Hollywood career. However, before logging even one additional film credit, addiction would again turn Nick's life upside down. While Nick struggled, his family again wrestled with the choice of providing for Nick or letting him hit rock bottom. Today, the young man who once had the world at his feet is facing the death penalty.
See, now that makes total sense. So that interview where his father, Rob, was describing how he let his friends rape his son, no wonder why this kid has so many issues. But he talked a lot about this in past interviews on YouTube even.
To Nick's situation, as far as the substance use risk factor, Nick had a history of substance use. This was well known. He reported using heroin and cocaine. If he did have schizophrenia and substance use, that could explain the homicidal behavior. That could be a contributing factor. That doesn't mean he was legally insane, just a contributing factor.
And notice none of these other doctors here how many of them are talking about the possible personality disorders? The other Andrew doctor, he came closest to talking about it, but H.G. Tudor talked about it more, right? And I think H.G. Tudor is actually closer to the mark here. The other ones are not talking about it as much, but I think they're missing it. Now, the other woman, the FBI profiler, she was too, so I give her credit for that too. I think her name was Pat Brown.
What about the possible contribution of delusions? Could Nick's delusions have pushed him to kill? Well, other than the media reporting he has schizophrenia, there is no more information about Nick being delusional. I don't know if he had delusions or not. For argument's sake, let's say that he did. Schizophrenia has a strong association with delusions.
So we noticed this trend where people on YouTube, artists, sons of producers and singers, they're having major mental problems. Here's another case. We mentioned D4BD, and for some reason, yeah, I have a video up about why D4BD may be dangerous, and he's a suspect of killing someone right now. Give it a watch.
Surprise, motherfucker.
David, what are you doing?
About the love when I'm with you, 'cause I be breaking it all the time. And I don't really mean to cause no issue, but I need you to know, that I need you to know that life get crazy. So won't you let me slow it down? Yes, no, or maybe. I take it as a yes, 'cause you're still around. Till I feel it.
Ain't that a felony? Yeah, I think it is.
Dark hair, brown skin, love that melody. Baby, if you look up for love, I think they selling it. On the corner of the street, that a felony. Boy.
Wow, he makes doing a crime sound cool.
If you've ever looked at the Spotify top charts, you might have noticed that this song has been in the top 50 for the last year, which is a weirdly long time. But that's not the unusual part. The unusual part is that it was made by a
What did he know?
And why does he know it? The he I'm referring to is the creator of the snippet we just watched. It was a YouTube video titled Why D4BD is Unusual. I know what you're thinking. Wasn't D4BD the singer that people suspected cold-blooded murdered a young girl? Yes. The person we just watched singing about doing a felony? Yes. Now that's crazy to think about. We're gonna have to see what this YouTube channel was foreshadowing, because here's some context. We still don't know if he's a suspect as of now. So why did this video focus on the more violent parts of D4BD's songs right away?
Like what? Spoiler, the YouTuber knew someone, we the audience didn't. That's exactly what we're going to uncover together.
On Tuesday, a source was able to confirm to KTLA that singer David is being named as a suspect. TMZ reporting that Rivas's body may have been frozen, and that could make it difficult or nearly impossible.
But remember now, it wasn't just anything that was found in the back of his Tesla. David had a body in the back of it. Now, the police claim that they're on top of the case, which explains why it hasn't moved. And I have another one. They promised to get to the bottom of it. Unfortunately, that's also where the police left the report. I could do this all day.
And now we return you to our regular scheduled program in progress.
Hi, I'm bracing for Jason, here to brace for and embrace the bright side of your internet feed. Today, I want to investigate the curious scenario surrounding the singer DV4D, who used to be a YouTuber actually. And speaking of YouTubers, the Viggy, his channel is here, had a curious video about him almost a year ago. It seems to be lining up a little bit too well. Before David was known as DV4D, his legal name was David Anthony Burke. Remember that. His name was included in a warrant involved in a search for a lost girl last week.
So no, the unusual part isn't how he blew up to fame or how his songs got so popular. It's more about how someone read in between the lines. And that person was you, the YouTuber himself.
Remember that.
Luckily, the Viggy focused on the hit song Romantic Homicide. The imagery was almost too real. Everybody was enjoying the music, but this young man was a risk to himself and the innocent girls he fantasized over. Wow.
Before everything turned to headlines and police reports, before the word murder got attached to D4VD's name, or David's, I want to give you a quick overview. A timeline now to keep in mind before we start breaking it down piece by piece. Because in a second, I'm gonna need your help putting this all together.
Okay, quick recap because I know your attention span's cool. So, this singer has songs that hints towards dangerous and violent activities, but he's not talking about himself. He's talking about someone else. And this YouTuber figured it out, and he posted a video before everyone else knew.
Now, if it was the fact that everyone knew about this video, then could this have prevented the disappearance of the young girl that we mentioned earlier? Probably not.
We should figure this out because the private investigators are not doing their jobs. I'll give them 3 months before they start doing anything.
But remember now, it wasn't just anything that was found in the back of his Tesla. David had a body in the back of it.
Now, on the surface, everything started pretty normal. Well, normal for an artist that was blowing up. It begins in July 2022, when he released Romantic Homicide. A song that, looking back now, feels almost too on the nose. At the time, everybody treated it like a breakup song. Sad, dramatic, emotional enough to go viral, but vague enough to sound relatable. But if you really listened, like someone did, the words don't sound like a heartbreak. They sound more like a confession. Like someone describing violence with the calmness of someone remembering, not imagining. Like if Dexter didn't want to do a documentary, instead wanted to be a pop artist. Then, 3 months later, in October 2022, he meets Celeste. There's no big reveal, no dramatic announcement, just small things. Cryptic Instagram captions, short live streams, little hints fans start piecing together on their own. And that's when his music quietly shifted.
Time for your friendly neighbor disclaimer. Nowhere in the songs do we prove that these things are completely true. But the evidence that when he meets Celeste that things change cannot be argued. And read this little snippet.
The lyrics changed again. The metaphors got thinner, the images sharper, the violence closer. Over the next year, David kept releasing new songs, each one maybe more explicit than the last. The sound started feeling colder, like the music itself was fading away. Maybe I'm reading into it too much, but for this story, I like to believe that some of the lyrics started mentioning things like rebirth and death way too much.
But luckily, David had an answer for us.
I Spice first though. I like her the most. The thing is, people don't know is that I had a little intermediate period in like making music in 2022 where I made an alter ego named Tommy. I have him in all my music videos. He's like, where's the blindfold and the bloody shirts that I wear to my shows.
This is part 2. The release date? No, it's not an album. It's for the evidence that we're collecting. We're going to discover
This part, we're going to discover who Itami is and what the hell he's doing with David. In the first act, we got to know who David is and why there's someone that's keeping an eye on him. Now we're seeing what the hell David meant by alter ego Itami. We finally know who the YouTuber was referring to the entire time.
And this is freaking proof!
Come on guys, we can do better than this. I have ADHD, so let's start with the first song Itami appears in primarily in.
This is where that song is.
His late night television debut with the song Romantic Homicide. David! In the back of
I totally forgot you guys have a cooked attention span.
So I'm gonna recap it really quickly for this part too, because things get a lot worse from here. So Celeste, the person, met David only after Romantic Homicide blew up. They talked and got even closer until March 2023. That's when the next big song came out. Wait, we did this one already. And it's not a coincidence, because things started to change. Hold up, yeah, I know what you're thinking. Celeste didn't know about the violent ego Itami as she was only 11.
11 years old.
But now, Itami knew her. That's the scariest part. Now, the alter ego Itami was already dangerous with his white blindfold and, the blood that was on his hands and everywhere on his body. But things didn't get worse until Itami got his own hero. And who might that be, you ask? Maybe someone invincible.